Hello, everyone. We wholeheartedly welcome you all, esteemed delegates and friends, to Panorama International Literature Festival 2023, conducted by Writers' Capital International Foundation worldwide. I am Secretary General and PILF Chief Coordinator, Irene Durakabadia, extending you a warm embrace from Athens, Greece. Welcome to our live session, which is actually a celebration of literature and of life, because we in Writers' Capital Foundation bridge cultures and unite nations. Therefore, we have all united together in the realm where life meets literature in this very special session. Panorama International Literature Festival is one of the two signature programs of Writers' Capital Foundation, along with Panorama Arts Festival, in which hundreds of writers from across the world get together, marking the beginning of yet another season of celebration of literature. Panorama Literature Festival is also a world record-winning program as the lengthiest multilingual literature festival where renowned literateurs from all over the world participate, and actually from more than 76 countries. We are immensely happy and proud to welcome poets and writers, therefore, across the world, who this year meditated upon the theme Prana, the breath, composing a work for eternity. At this point, I have the pleasure to deliver to you all the best wishes and the warmest welcome of Mr. Preet Nambiar, our Honorable President of Writers' Capital Foundation and Panorama Chairman, poet, author, educationist, and ardent humanitarian. The mastermind behind the Panorama Festivals, the brain behind the highly inspirational theme of it too, into which hundreds of writers across the world have been able to delve into. Besides, we have the happiness to have with us Dr. Sunil Sharma, whom we welcome to give the presidential speech. Dr. Sharma, the dais to you.
You are muted, Dr. Sunil Sharma.
Yes, please open your microphone.
Yes, thanks for the prompt. Thank you very much, Irene. Very warm welcome to PILF 2023. Technically, it's called Presidential Address. Personally, it is a peer interaction for me. I'm very happy that I got this rare opportunity of meeting some of the finest authors whom I admire for their superb literary skills, craft, and vision. A pleasure to be here today, sharing an inspiring platform with these gifted delegates, my close literary friends and collaborators as well. And of course, you, the valued viewers joining us from various parts of the world, fellow writers and readers seeking serious writings from a warm and welcoming venue that delivers the very best. Virtual is real. Various time zones and nations converge right now via this mega event for a critical conversation. Namaste and a warm welcome again to the iconic PILF 2023, that is Panorama International Literature Festival, Season 4, hosted by Writers' Capital International Foundation, WCIF. At the outset, my deep gratitude to friend and brother, Preet Nambiar, Chairman and CEO, Irene Dura-Cavadia, Secretary General, Chief Coordinator, Chaitali Sengupta, Curator and Moderator, the entire operational team of the twin organizations for this singular honor to a humble writer like me. Thank you very much. Friends, PILF is big. A shining example of the power of seminal ideas germinating, finding appropriate shapes, and then expanding into a powerful force. A global movement towards positivity and dispersal of humane and aesthetic values in a brief span of time. Remarkable. 4 years. Already PILF has become an award-winning largest celebration of words, voices, languages and cultures, startling imagery and syntax. A month-long festival, this time conducted from Spain on a very relevant topic. As mentioned earlier, with 76 nations participating, 120 speakers, 112 books, and 84 sessions. A great gathering, great utsav as you call it in Sanskrit. It is huge and impressive. This large-scale participation, multilingual, multi-locational, makes PILF as the lengthiest program that, it's very important, this point here, at this juncture, that reinscribes green commitment, humanism, activism, and pluralism into the artistic space. Very, very important contribution of this organization, this festival. And these are the defining frameworks. I congratulate the organizers, the hosts for that value addition. The focus of this year's edition is on a vital dimension of existence, living, breathing, prana. Prana or breath, part of the element called air. Purer the air, better the breath and life everywhere. Prana is the natural air around us. These are some of the genuine concerns about a free gift raised by the iconic Panorama Festival for us, for others, for world leaders as well. Air must not be polluted in the name of progress. Air, it's a crucial part of nature. Nature has to be protected and preserved at any cost against constant threats so that Mother Earth survives and gets healed for future generations. This calls for important initiatives for conservation, green community, ecological balance through writing poetry as a medium of change and social transformation, literary and poetic interventions in social life. Writers as activists, writing for a cause, in collaboration with the Central University of Kerala, this theme gets explored by the participating authors, poets from different countries. We feel privileged to be part of this timely project. Personally, it's a great honor as a delegate for me to be here on this exciting stage, world stage. Now, the most crucial part, according to me, It is a place where writers are treated as the chief capital of society, and arts become non-reified agencies of upliftment and change for a better tomorrow. A refreshing departure and approach from mass markets. Coming to the present live session, I would say that the books are the main stars today. Books that open up new vistas of lived experiences, new doors of perception for us as readers. Books that function as the textual and formal windows on the soul of a given culture and civilization at a given point of time. Books that are timeless conversations about finding beauty and meaning and hope in most trying circumstances, and raising consciousness for the recipients in the entire process. Books that teach us to be happy and humane and full of empathy and sympathy, whatever be the circumstance or condition or situation, like the great seers and teachers, but in a different form. Some fine writers today are going to talk of their beautiful creations before a beautiful audience over there, of the journeys sublime in words, images, idioms, in exhilarating sets of factors and combinations. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the current session of PILF, PILF and WCIF. Thanks again to the lovely hosts, moderator, curator, and all of you for being there. Very best wishes. Happy New Year. Thanks again.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for this inspiring presidential speech, Dr. Sharma. Very honored for your beautiful words and also for your presence. And now, without further ado, let us indulge in the inspiring verses of the delegates on the theme air. Therefore, I now pass on the task of conducting this event to our delegate from the Netherlands, Ms. Chaitali Sengupta. She's a published poet, author, and volunteer journalist. Her book, Timeless Tales, is also nominated for the prestigious Panorama Golden Awards. Dear Chaitali, the stage to you.
Thank you, Irena, and thank you for your lovely and kind introduction about myself. I was listening also to Dr. Sunil Sharma's opening presidential speech, and I was simply awed by how big Panorama International Festival has become. And it is my honor, my privilege to moderate this event today, where we have with us some of the wonderful poets and authors who have participated in this Panorama International Literature Festival. So as you and Dr. Sharma have so rightly spoken about this literary event, that this is an event which is all about bridging cultures and uniting nations. So 76 countries are participating in this particular program, in this event. And this is also one of your flagship programs. You are committed to spreading the noble values of humanity through the medium of literature. And that besides, this event also believes in giving a platform where literary minds from across the nations can come together and discuss their works forward. To carry forward this aim, today we have with us, ladies and gentlemen, 5 brilliant minds with us. All of them have had a significantly long career in writing. And they have produced valuable works, and they have found their joy in the written words. It gives me great pleasure today to first introduce the well-known bilingual poet, critic, editor, writer, and translator, Sri Gopal Lahiri from India. With 27 published books, 17 in English and 10 in Bengali. His poetry is well known to us. And his works are widely translated too, not only in India, but also outside. He is a Pushcart Prize nominee in 2021. He is the recipient of the Poet of the Year Award in Destiny Poets, UK 2016. The Setu Excellence Award 2020, Pittsburgh, USA. His latest collection of poems, Alleys Are Filled with Future Alphabets, have received Yukioto Award 2022. So, dear Gopalda, I welcome you to share with us your work, and please read us a poem or a passage from your book. The floor is yours, Gopalda.
Thank you, Chaitali, and thank you, PILF and Preet ji and all the other people, and Sunil Sharma ji for his excellent welcome address. And I must say that I'm very humbled to be here among so many wonderful writers and poets. Today I'll be talking about my book, Alleys Are Filled with Future Alphabets. The background behind this book is it was written, it was completed around 2020 and it was published then. And at that time, there was this pandemic was there. And some of the poems were, not all, but some of the poems were written during the pandemic. So some people may find that I was very restless at that point of time, like many other people. Although I was not personally affected by COVID, because I'm lucky in that sense. But I have seen so many people getting affected, and some people have died also, very close friends and relatives. They all, succumbed to this COVID. So it was a really, really dark time. And we all couldn't believe that we can come out like the way we are now breathing air. I mean, it's a really lucky, we can say, in that way. Although we cannot say that it is all over, because there are threats that some of the variants may again affect or are affecting in different parts of the world. So that's the background. But the poems which were in that particular book written from the last 5 years, from 2015 to 2020. So these 5 years I have written on various topics. And the poetry is, many people are telling, many poets are telling that this is a part of their existence, which I do believe also. And also feel that poetry is a part of my existence. And it's very close to my heart, besides many other genres like prose, of course, and translation. And there's so many other forms of literature. But poetry, yes, that is the primary, what we can say, the primary focus of my writing. And in this particular volume, I have segregated in 7 different chapters in the book. There are poems on your philosophical poem, you can say in that way. There are socially conscious poems, and also poems on cities, on nature, and all form poems, which I do believe that I can experiment with that. And there are travel poems. I love to travel, so that is also a very important part of my writing. And of course, that pandemic and resilience, to come out of that pandemic. And the title of the book is Filled with Future Alphabet. That was my thought at that point of time when everything looks very bleak and gloomy. So, there are many people, this book is very widely reviewed also. And I have seen a lot of, many angles of the people have thought about this particular book, which is also very, very interesting in the way that how a poet who writes certain things, and then it has been interpreted in many different ways, which also, it gives a lot of satisfaction as a poet, that even though I feel that I may not write the way I like to, but still there are people, there are poets who love those writings, and that gives you a pleasure that you can go on writing and write on in that way. So it is always there, and that's why we are writing. And recently, I have read somewhere that some poets, I think from Latin America, that they feel that freedom is poetry. I mean, that is also another important aspect, that poetry is freedom. I mean, you can have that mind where we can flow around and write whatever you want to write. So that is another aspect of writing poetry. But to me, poetry is, we all know that poetry, poets and makers, they are just not like just writing whatever they feel or observe. So in that way, I always emphasize that two of the things, mainly the rhythms, because nowadays we are not writing on rhyming poems as such. So we are writing mostly free verse, narrative poems, and like that. So there, I find the rhythm of the poetry, that's the main aspect. And there are, of course, the wordplay, the syntax, and all those things, all the tools are there, and metaphors, similes, and images are there. But the rhythm, I mean, when you move to write poetry from your this first your thoughts, then you go down to write, pages or on the computer keyboard. Then you go to that particular lines, then stanzas, then phrases, and then you feel that you have written certain things which can be poetry to you. But sometimes you always revise those things that we are not satisfied what we are reading. So revision is also another important part. So in my this particular book, I have written many poems which initially I thought that I may not publish those poems. But fortunately, I have, and all the poems, those were published in various journals and magazines and newspapers and like that. So there, actually, it is been reviewed by certain editors. So that gives you also confidence that yes, there are people who like this poem. So why not published or in a collection of poems? So in this way, I progress and selected 102 poems of this book. And if you, I think, Chaitali, you have also done a review of this
Yeah.
particular book. And
Yes.
Lopa has also done, if I'm not wrong. So many of you know what is there, the contents, and how the languages have been written there. But one of the important thing is that this particular book, of course, after that, two of my new books have already come, and those are slightly different from this book. Those are basically form poems mostly, and another one is there's some collection of which I call some resonance, some desire. You know that many poets believe that unless there is desire, there is no poetry at all. But my many people also told that your point of strength probably images. So Wilhelm Lewis once told that images are basically the primary pigment of poetry. So that is very important, that this pigment, quote unquote. So that knowingly or unknowingly, I depend most of my the narrative in the poem on images. That I always feel that if the images are strong, then that can give you a good. I mean, you can feel very comfortable that you are writing in a right manner. So that is the one point which I always believe, that images are really one of the important tool. And other way, everybody is telling, Sunil Sharma ji also mentioned about that ecology, this planetary crisis. So nowadays we are observing that poets are more and more writing on ecology, more and more eco-poetry are coming, which is very necessary in the sense that we have to save our planet. That is, unless we save our planet, we can't do anything. We may not survive for long, or our future generation. So if we can go to our readers, to the people, to the audience, with our writings on ecology, on environment, this will definitely have a good effect. And we may not 100% successful, but at least you can send some signal, and we can connect to the people about this. So this is one of the, in my latest poems, I'm involving more on that. And the other thing is that there is, of course, the identity crisis, which, I mean, over the years, over the centuries, it was there. And now it's much more that everybody are feeling that what will be our identity in this world. So that is also another important aspect of contemporary poetry, which I also have I have been also feeling that that search for identity, that search for I, quote unquote. I mean, that is always there. And over the years, poets are writing. And the another important thing is that about the surroundings, about the environment, not about only the nature, but the people. I mean, how the human relation and human connectivity, and how this dystopian world we are now living, and how we are feeling very frustrated and isolated when many of the things which are happening right now all over us, not only and globally, that also affects every conscious people, not only the poets, the artists, the writers, and whoever in this creative writing, they have their passion. So poetry is no longer it's only a passion, or only it's a part of your it's just passing time and writing few rhymings or romance like that. So it has come a long way. It is almost it. I always feel that sometimes if you don't write poetry, that you have missed some certain things. So you have to write. I mean that inner urge is there that we must write something. We must do, and that if it comes in form of poetry, it is very good. And some people write prose, some people write I mean verses, novel, and all are important aspects of literature. And nowadays, you know that there is a lot of your space of writing has been wide, and we have this social media, and you have this electronic media. So I mean the opportunities are huge. And there, of course, many people say that there could be some quality of writing, that also those points are coming every now and then. But we all feel that this will give a lot of opportunity to I mean almost everybody can write, and he or she can easily understand what of their writing can sustain in the long run. So that is also very important. So you have to self-educate yourself. I mean, nobody will tell you that you are good or bad. And if they tell something, then that may not be, because in social media, you know, most of the people these are our close friends and relatives and like that. So their comments are not, I mean, in that way, that valuable, that pertinent in the way that critical mind is not always we are applying. So for that, you have, there are many other opportunities, peer review journal, and like that in electronic media and internet, there are a lot of other good things are there. So, and another important thing is that when we started writing in say 30 years back, we have to depend on those go to the office of newspaper or journal and sit front of the editors, and it all depends on their whims and their mood. This many time they'll throw you out, and then sometimes they say, okay, we can keep your writings here and we'll read. And maybe after 1 year they say that no, it's not acceptable. But here the situation is not like that. So in that way we have come a long way. And this of course this will give very, very heartening news that we are in a world which has given an ample opportunity to everybody. So that is a very positive thing. So I will just read one of the poems of this book, just to sum up this my book, Alice, filled with future alphabet, because today I'm talking about this book only. And what are the things I want to write, that is very much whoever has written and knows that. And the poem which I wrote, that is the last poem of the book. When I wrote this, it was not there. So it was just an feeling, and I was very optimistic that this will happen. So title of the poem is New World in the Waiting. It was written, I think, in the peak of this pandemic, maybe around 2020, July, August, or something like that. There in India, it was a really dark time. And the poem reads like this way: each night is mundane and lonely. Night birds spread their wings. The moment I am looking for is buried beneath the black soil. Each wound I polish on the sacred stone shines in false light. There is nostalgia too. When the lizards cry, the moon goes behind swelling clouds. There is a thick silence you can lean against. The city is laconic, the way it was centuries ago. The broken walls scribble. Alleys are filled with future alphabets. A certain beauty is waiting on the street with something that cares, that cultivates. And I do believe that we will be reaching that stage very soon. And I'm very much optimistic about the world, in spite of there are so many problems. So thank you, Chaitali, for giving me this opportunity to talk about my books. And
Thank you, Gopalda. Thank you for your wonderful expression and wonderful work. I remember reading your book, Alleys Are Filled with Future Alphabets, and also reviewing it. What I can say in only one sentence is this, that there is an acute sensitivity in your verses, and I think that is what people like about it. Thank you so much. The next one to grace our event is the Texas-based poet, author, translator, and editor with 8 books and 6 anthologies in fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. She is none other than Lopamudra Banerjee. Lopa teaches creative writing at Texas Christian University and is a teacher at the Writing Center, Collins College. Her memoir, Thwarted Escape, An Immigrant's Wayward Journey, received the Journey Awards first place category winner. Twice recipient of the International Revell Prize for Poetry and for her English translation of Tagore's selected works of fiction, she also received the Honorary Mention Award for her excellent translation of Ashapurna Devi's Bokul Katha at the London Book Festival 2022. Her poetry has been published in renowned platforms both in the USA and across the globe. Please talk to us, Lopa, about your work and share with us a short poem or maybe a short passage from your collection of work. Welcome.
Hello, Chaitali Di, and thank you for the generous introduction. And I take this opportunity to extend my wholehearted thanks to PILF, Panorama International Lit Fest, Preet Nambiarji, and all others associated, Irene, and all others associated globally with this literature festival, in which we authors get this opportunity to not only talk about the books, but explain the cause behind our creations, our literary creations, and bridge the gap between cultures, continents, and make the world a better place for tomorrow with not only our writings, but the exchange of culture, exchange of thoughts, and exchange of dissent, because dissent is something for which I write, and we all write, I'm very sure, if I'm not wrong, that we want to express our innermost thoughts based on a particular theme, right? And it has been true to all of us writers, whether we are writing poetry or prose, fiction or non-fiction, whether we are creating our original work or we are working on translation. As a translator, I can say that translating from one language, the source language, to the target language is very important, because there also a cultural exchange happens where or the translator, like whosoever is the translator, is actually entrusted with the responsibility of bestowing the knowledge of the culture, the bare particulars of the culture, transcribed from one language to the other, to broaden the horizons, broaden the spectrums of thinking and understanding of that particular culture, which is what literature precisely entails. So now, coming back to the book, which is We Are What We Are, it is my recent publication after Ashapurna Devi's translation of, like my translation, my English translation of Ashapurna Devi's Bakul Katha. Simultaneously, I was working on an anthology of memoirs, because you all know I love to edit as well. Like I love to bring concepts or themes. I love to curate the works of various authors and feature them based on a particular, surrounding a particular theme. So since I teach memoir and I have studied memoir and creative nonfiction, Sunil Sharma sir knows about the book, The Body of Memories, had been a product in that direction of memoir writing and personal essays. So after that, this is my latest book of collaboration, where I collaborated with another author who is not Indian. For the very first time, I collaborated with a Latin American or Mexican author with the theme of diaspora, because people have been associating me with diaspora writing since the time I have given birth to my first memoir, Thwarted Escape, An Immigrant's Wayward Journey. More than memoir writing, it was like it had a combination of autobiography, literary nonfiction, creative nonfiction, and personal essays. So from that day onwards, the thought of diaspora, the seed of diaspora writing, was sown in my mind. But I was looking for an outlet to actually process the poems through that lens. That was how my association with Priscilla in the world of poetry in Dallas bore fruit. That was how it happened. So in 2017, I met her through a women's poetry forum, which is all about women of color, you know, like in USA, women of color poets are doing we are actually walking our own strides in our own unique, distinct ways. Though we are not part of the mainstream, but we are going there. So in that way, I happened to stumble upon Priscilla's work. And what struck me was that both of us were writing about our ancestors, about our roots, about the way our roots have shaped our personas, and also the duality of the lives which our consciousness was full of. So in that way, I approached Priscilla that I want to come out with a production, maybe in a book form, which will entail writing about our identities, our distinct identities, your identity as a Latin American woman, how you have struggled in America, and my identity as an Indian woman. I won't say Indian American, though I am a permanent resident here, I am very much Indian. So I would say an Indian Bengali immigrant still. So the journey of an immigrant, not in the way of only an immigrant's journey, but what our consciousness entails. So it was a collaboration which brought out our diaspora mindscapes together in a cumulative consciousness. So the poems which I had written, and there is not only poetry, there are 2 essays here, short essays, which are again about patriarchy, which is part of our identity and consciousness, and gender, how we have evolved as women. What was our childhood like? What did we learn along the way? And how our consciousness has evolved in this alien land, which is alien no more. Now we have imbibed it as part of our home. It's not our homeland per se, but it is our adopted home. So how we have evolved. This book is actually, you can say, a collaboration of mindscapes which have evolved in, like in keeping in mind our cerebral consciousness and also our consciousness as women. So I'm going to read out the blurb which will explain what the book is all about. Within a nutshell, the blurb which I had written. So, yeah. So the blurb in the Amazon page describes the book as, long ago, in the folds and crevices of time, when an Indian Bengali girl in West Bengal, India, and a Mexican multi-ethnic Latina girl, that is Priscilla, in Texas, USA, were germinating as poets, storytellers during the incubation period that generally characterizes girlhood, the essence of their words and their beings were accumulating in their consciousness, silently yet surely. Those words, poems, monologues were in their gestation period, only to be born years later as precious pearls of their distinct identities in relation to their ethnicity, gender roles, et al. Decades later, both women as poets, artists, storytellers developed their voices in the universe as unique outbursts of culture, gender, and thus We Are What We Are was born, a manifesto of their unapologetic primal songs, a manifesto of their cumulative consciousness as women of letters. This is how I encapsulated the thought of this book, or the seed of this book, in my mind, which came out as the blurb. So you might also wonder, those who have not written the book, read the book yet, I know Chaitali has read it, Gopalda has also read it perhaps, but those who have not read it might wonder that I have only written about my Indian consciousness. It's not like that. I have written about thoughts germinating in my mind when I have accepted the Western culture, also parts of the Western culture, as part of my consciousness. In that way, Frida Kahlo, a poem about Frida Kahlo, Gopalda knows about it because it was first published in Setu. Setu's publication, Voices, what was the name of it? Voices or something like that.
Voices.
I think, yeah.
Voices Within.
Voices Within.
Voices Within, yes. I'm sorry, I forgot the name, Gopalda. So Voices Within first published it in an anthology form, and then it became part of my book, Frida, A Journey and Anthem, because Frida, also being a Mexican woman, her struggles, the urgency, the emotional urgency to express herself to the world in the form of her art, the broken pieces of the fragments of her mind, the fragments of her consciousness that allured me and intrigued me to no ends. With that end, I would like to read out a short poem from the book, which is about my diaspora consciousness. And it is the second poem of the book. And the name of the poem is Unraveled. And I have a Bengali version of it as well. So the Bengali version was written first. It was titled Unmochon, and then I wrote the English version. So it goes like that. To let every atom of a forbidden rain pierce my crust and core. To let the glistening pearls of sacred tears flow when they gush unhindered. To bear open surrender to the naked richness of a flawed being. To embrace the architecture of flesh and the poetry of a body that has endured the lull of music and the sordid dark of many a death. to let go of the vain lushness of fairy tales and the chaotic hunger of sweet nothings, to rest amid the fierce nudity of many an unborn verses. My life, the unraveled seed of a virgin poem, let it be, let it be, let it be clothed in fire, unsheathed. This is about my mindscape as a diaspora woman, and there is an extension to it, which is named Diaspora, which is the very first poem. With this, I will end my session. Diaspora. I let the rivers of my life run haywire, flirting with the uncertainty of miles that sprouted on summer nights. I would come out in the open, unabashed, an earth unknown, cracking wide open at the edge of an unnamed surrender. In that sacrosanct moment of a dark-throated song, the confluence of the East and West wrote its script of diaspora within my being like an irreconcilable truth, like the whisper of an omniscient God. Come, come visit the rivers, the homes, the molten stories dying and born anew within me. Thank you very much for this opportunity and honor, PILF. And
Wonderful.
Thank you everybody for listening to my renditions.
Wonderful to listen to your rendition, Lopa, and I feel all the inherent emotions in it that has the power of moving us so deeply.
Thank you very much.
So thank you so much for being here and reading out your, you love that work. I can see it, the way.
I loved it, and I loved the collaboration more than anything else. I was running short of time. So initially, as I had planned that I would read out a bit of Priscilla's work too, that didn't happen. But at least you understand.
I really enjoyed listening to your rendition.
At least now you understand the motive, the perspective, and the emotional urgency behind this collaboration. And also more than a collaboration, I would say it is an exchange of not only our cultural ideas, but the way our consciousness has been molded by our roots, and also the way our personas have been shaped.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for reading your wonderful work for us. Moving on, I shall now talk briefly about an internationally published writer, a scholar, art critic, children's writer, painter, and poet, Dr. Meenakshi Mohan. She has taught at universities in Chicago, Boston, and she teaches now at Towson University in Maryland. She is a recipient of several awards for her excellence in teaching. A bilingual writer, she writes in Hindi as well as in English, and she has authored several children's books, including The Rainbow in My Room, The Gift, and The Rebirth of the Demon. Her latest brilliant anthology, Tapestry of Women in Indian Mythology, is a very valuable work. She is a recipient of the Panorama International Literature Festival Award 2022 and the Setu Bilingual Journal Award for Excellence 2022. It's a pleasure having you on this panel, Dr. Mohan. Please share with us your work and do let us hear your poem, please. Welcome to the event.
Thank you so much, Chaitali, for such an impressive introduction of me. And, thank you also, PLF team, for giving us this platform. And I don't need to say too much about them because Dr. Sharma has really given such, valuable information about what PLF is doing in sort of making the world, bringing the world together again. So here with that, I'm presenting my latest book. This is called The Tapestry of Women in Indian Mythology today. And the foreword of this book is written by no other than Dr. Devdutt Patnaik. Here he is, Devdutt Patnaik. Beautifully written foreword. There were several reasons. Actually, I was lingering with the idea of putting this together for a long, long time, but there were several reasons to put this book together. The first reason was that I wanted to bring out Indian mythology before the world. We know so much about Roman, Greek mythology, but hardly we know anything about Indian mythology. So that was one reason. And the second reason was, in this male-dominant society, women were always like put in the back burners. The stories of their valor, strength, struggle were never told. According to Devdutt Patnaik, from his foreword in this book, he says, we are often told stories of Indian women to suit a particular construct. There is a whole body of stories that escapes the public eye. So the whole idea was to bring out unheard, unique stories of these women in this collection. And for that, I'm really, really grateful to all the contributors. It was a great learning experience for me to learn about so many stories that we had never even heard before. Another very important point was to show that feminism is not a new phenomenon. It is centuries old, you know. So therefore, I take this collection of books as an awakening call for both men and women here. And I'm really proud to say that, you know, I did a lot of research before putting this book together, that, you know, there is, I have not seen any collection of book like this together with, you know, these kind of stories. So we have heard stories scattered here and there, but not like in a collection of poem like this one. So this why, you know, it's, I give a lot of value to this one. With all that said, I'm going to read my poem on Shanta Devi from this book. We have all heard about Ram, but did we know about that Ram had an older sister, Shanta Devi? You know, and to say that King Dashrath actually refused to acknowledge Shanta Devi as her daughter because he wanted a son, and he gave her up for adoption at her very young age. But it was Shanta Devi, when he was sick and Ram was not there, Ram was in Banvas, and, you know, everybody else, none of his sons were there. It was Shanta Devi who really took care of him at his, you know, when he was at his deathbed. But still he did not recognize her or talk to her. King Dashrath also married 3 times, but he had no sons. So it was Shanta Devi who did this very, very strict Vedic ritual, yagya. It's called Putra Kamikshti Yag, you know, it's tongue twister word, you know. So very, yeah. And then at the completion of this birth, yagya, then only Dashrath had like 4 sons, including Ram, you know. So this is about that thing here, this book. So I'm going to read my poem from this book here. It's called Shanta Devi. In a remote town of Himachal Pradesh, there stands Shanta Devi's temple, surrounded by intricate valleys, dense forest, and with a backdrop of snow-clad mountains. Shanta Devi, a name missing from the epics, yet people come from far and wide to get her blessings. O beneficent King Dashrath, an embodiment of truth, morality, and kindness, how could you be so unkind to your firstborn, a daughter, Shanta, an epitome of beauty, peace, and knowledge? You gave her away for adoption. You kept your daughter's identity a secret just because you wanted a son to carry your name and dynasty. Raja Dashrath, did you forget it was Shanta Devi who renounced her princely life and deserted the home of her loving adoptive parents to become a sannyasini and do Putra Kamikshti Vrata Yagya with her husband, sage Rishiranga. It was because of her sacrificial devotion and offsprings to gods, you were blessed with 4 sons. It was she who cared for you at your deathbed, yet you refused to recognize her identity. Valmiki and Tulsi Das Why did you forget to mention the name of Lord Ram's only sister in your epics? You knew if it were not for Shanta Devi, there would not have been Lord Ram, and there would not have been the Ramayana and the Ramcharitmanas. Shanta Devi is a lost name as a daughter and sister, yet she survives as a Devi of peace and harmony and roams in the hearts of many who come for her blessings. The bells of this remote temple echo far and beyond the valleys and mountains to tell the world that a woman is a cachet of love, devotion, but she also has the strength and ability to change the course of history. Thank you.
That was really, really, really very rewarding. It is intensely rewarding to have you with us, Dr. Mohan, and to listen to this beautiful rendition, which you have also included in your book. When I was listening to you reading it out, I thought that your words actually come deep down from your soul, and therefore they make a home in our hearts. I had to say this. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here and for reading your wonderful work for our viewers. I would now talk about an award-winning Asian American poet, editor, author, and literary activist from New Jersey, USA. Megha Sood. She is the recipient of the 2021 Poet Fellowship from Martha's Vineyard Institute of Creative Writing and a 2020 national level winner of the Poetry Matters Project and a four-time state level winner for NAMI NJ Dara Axelrod Poetry Award. She's an editor with several literary journals, and her works are widely featured in many journals like Poetry Society of New York, Rising Phoenix Review, and many more. She is the author of several chapbooks like A Potpourri of Emotions, My Body is Not an Apology, and the full-length book, My Body Lives Like a Threat. Her work is a part of the famous Medusa project, which has been selected as a digital payload to be sent to the moon in 2023 as part of the historical Lunar Codex project in collaboration with NASA and SpaceX. Wow, that is indeed an achievement, Megha Sood, and I request you to talk about your beautiful work to us and our viewers.
Thank you, Chaitali ji, for such a kind and generous introduction. And it's an honor and pleasure to share the platform with so many of my favorite writers and mentors here. And I'm extremely thankful to the team of Panorama International Literature Festival, Irene, Joanna, and Preet Nambiar for bringing such a global event on the platform and giving the platform to all the creatives across the world. And putting together such a event of such a magnanimous, space and all that, it takes a lot of effort. And to do this with heartfulness and so much of selflessness is a thing which is like rarely seen these days. When you are giving your heart and soul to represent the creative works and literary works in your community, and you're giving the platform to the writers and poets and creators and scholars and educators all over the world, it's not a small thing. So I'm very honored to be part of this festival. And to talk about my work, I have started writing 4.5 years ago, and it's given me such a catharsis and also given me a voice as a literary activist. And as Chaitali mentioned, that I have written few of the chapbooks. I've co-authored 2 chapbooks and 1 full length, and also co-authored 3 different anthologies. But today I'm gonna give a brief introduction about my first debut full length poetry collection, which got released last year in January. My Body Lives Like a Threat by Flower Song Press. So basically, the book is mainly talks about the issues which arises because of the body politics and the body identity issues. And the theme which I wanted to focus on it, the main issue which I wanted to focus, that how the issues which arises out of body politics, it doesn't remain at an individual level, or it molds and morphs to become into the social monster which is birthing all sorts of problems, like how you see the body of a woman as a threat, how this you see the body of a person of a color as a threat, the body of a migrant worker. So the book is divided into 5 different sections, and each section focus on this specific issue. But the common thread which strings along the whole book is about the body identity and the body politics. So today I'm going to be reading one poem, which is called The Taste of Home. It's not part of this book, but it's for my second manuscript, which I'm currently working on. And it basically talks about the experience of me as like a first generation immigrant, and as so many of us are first generation immigrant, and we know the love for our country which we carry us within us in our hyphenated identities, and how we carry the love for our culture, our food, our tradition across the borders. And even though, as Lopa mentioned, right, there's such a delicate balance of what we are trying to do, right? We are trying to stay attached to our roots, and at the same time we are trying to adopt the realities of the world that we live in and we call our adopted home. So to put it in a manner, that I have written a poem which kind of brings out that emotions, that how we the world is a global place, and there is, now that the countries are developing and everything is like bringing together, we are global citizens. We know that we have access to certain things, which reminds of our home, and we find pride in that. We still celebrate our tradition and cultures and all, but still we have that, the sense of belonging, the sense of longing and everything. Every time we celebrate our culture, every time we celebrate that festival of ours which brings back the childhood memories or even the adulthood memories of which we celebrated back in our country, and every time we eat something which brings back the memories of our childhood or our like country and all that. So based on that emotion, I wrote a poem, and it's called Taste of Home. And I'm just going to read it now. Taste of Home. I ransacked my memories only to come empty-handed. The immigrant in me, for this traveler, the search never ends. I look everywhere for something good and golden that I tried to drag across the borders, tightly stuffed within the folds of my ether-perfumed clothes, carrying the smell of home in my suitcases, crossing the invisible lines with me, the almost familiar fragrance, something that no longer stayed with me and yet never leaves me. Like a musk deer always in search, I looked for it everywhere except inside me. The burden of responsibility tugged along with my hyphenated identity, and I keep dangling between the two, akin to limbo, trying to stay true to either of them, only to get lost in translation every time. I open my mouth and my tongue twists and turns to fit the cookie cutter rules of this new world. Like a dandelion, I'm swayed by the winds, doused by the fragrance of opportunities, and by something good and golden that lies beneath the dearth of hope that the new sun brings. The sky welcomes everyone with its blue kindness. With its hand laced with henna and turmeric tainted fingers, I try to carve my own identity. I dig my teeth deeper into the flesh juicy pulp of mangoes each summer, trying to masticate the similarities in their pith. Every mouthful of yellow nectar I gulp ends in disappointment, leaving a metallic taste of longing inside me. It turns into a shade of loneliness each time, every time. The dissimilarities overpower the experience, and I've been left longing for more. What exactly is the taste of home? Who could tell? I stopped at every place that bears the resemblance of home, only to move to the next one, They say I'm a pessimist, still looking for love, for more than I deserve, still looking for a home when there is none. Thank you so much for listening.
That
And
was wonderful.
And I just wanted to end my part of the session by saying that this book was also nominated for the Golden Book Awards, which is one of the other initiatives by Panorama International Literature Festival. And I'm really thankful for the team for giving me this honor. And back to you, Chaitali ji.
It is such a pleasure listening to your poem. I was just thinking about, I could relate, I could completely relate with what you are saying about the mango pulp and trying to find that taste, and each time it's only disappointment that we get. I can very well relate to everything that you said in your poem. So your work has a dominant perspective, I can say that, and it is very likable for their sensitivity and also for the straightforwardness, the way that you have presented. So thank you so much for sharing your work on this panel, Megha, and I really appreciate that. So our last participating author today is an academic, critic, and literary editor. He is none other than Dr. Sunil Sharma. Based currently in Toronto, he's a prolific author, we all know him, with 25 published books, 7 collections of poetry, 5 of short fiction, 1 novel, a critical study of the novel, and 10 joint anthologies, and 1 joint poetry collection. He is, among others, a recipient of the UK-based Destiny Poets Inaugural Poet of the Year Award 2012. His poems are published in the prestigious UN project, The Happiness, the Delight Tree, an anthology of contemporary international poetry in the year 2015. Among many other literary activities, Dr. Sunil Sharma also edits the English section of the very well-known monthly bilingual journal Setu, published from Pittsburgh, USA, a renowned journal known for its literary elan and quality. I welcome you, distinguished sir, on this panel and request you to please share your valuable work with us.
Thank you very much, Chaitali. You are doing a terrific job as a curator and moderator. I have got only one request for you. At the end of my very brief presentation, may I request you to read a poem of by you from one of your books, or talk of a book, your favorite book by you, if time permits. You're also very prolific author, and you also edit, you have contributed so significantly. So it's a request, if you can talk of your favorite poem or book, if it is possible.
I will definitely try to accommodate, sir. The time is the culprit here. That's the only thing. But I will definitely try. Yes, thank you so much.
It's a time-sensitive program, event. I understand that. I would be brief. And at the very outset of this segment, again, my deep sense of gratitude to you as a curator, moderator, and the wonderful hosts. I was listening attentively to all the presentations, beautiful presentations by the poets whom I admire. Today, as the last speaker on this segment of the event, I would like to talk about this novel, The Minotaur. I'm very happy to say that this got the Nassim International Prize for Excellence in English for Prose for the year 2022. An award which I hold very dear, because it has been given by a panel of writers, academics, who are highly respected. This is a novel about political realities. It is as much philosophical and literary as any novel in this genre can go. I would like to read from the blurb, and that sums up this novel. The Minotaur is a chilling but familiar account of the rise and fall of a third world despot. Riding the tidal wave of popular support, Caesar the Marxist soon turns into a dictator and plunges his impoverished, exploited nation into a bloody civil war. Fleeing from his burning nation, he lands up in a remote island and declares himself as the king there. Then the personal descent of a once charismatic doctor turned guerrilla leader into personal hell begins. The Minotaur is born and finally finds his nemesis in the form of a radicalized native on that remote island. It's a dark tale of power-crazy leaders as relevant in today's Africa or Latin America or South Asia as it was in the ancient world. This is the novel, my favorite one. I took 2 to 3 years to complete it. It was reissued by Setu Publications, and I'm very happy that it is getting critically noticed also. Some rave reviews are also there. And I would be happy if it can further, from this platform, ignite some kind of critical conversation about power structures and political leadership in a given democracy. Since it's a big novel, so reading out an excerpt would not do a full justice. I would just say, when it was being considered for this International Nissim Award, when a judge was reading it, I got the phone call. The first chapter describes his palace being run over by the radicalized people there up in his own land. And in that week, this kind of scenario happened in Sri Lanka last year. So in a way, it's literary, philosophical, and political engagement with certain urgent issues that confront us, that continue to confront us, even in the new millennium. In America, you know what happened recently. In Brazil also. So it is an examination, a literary examination of power structures from a Marxist point of view. That's all. I would be brief because brevity is the soul of the fit, as they say, and time-sensitive program. And I thank all the writers, panelists, delegates for their patience, for being there. Once again, I thank all of you for your kind cooperation, for your support overall, this program and even in other programs. Wish you all the very best and congratulations to all the authors, poets featured today. And I wish them huge success for their books. Thank you very much. And now may I request you to read at least. We also want to listen to you. A small poem, your favorite one, any book
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharma. Actually, when you were reading, I was thinking about your book. I have not read it yet, but I will make it a point to read it sometime, definitely, because it is very interesting. And it is also something with which the world grapples today. And you are very right that these kind of narratives should be built. And I will definitely make time for your book. And I read your last book, the collection of short stories. It was absolutely wonderful. And thank you so much. We don't have very much time, but since you have so much requested, Dr. Sharma, I am only going to read a very small passage from my latest work of translation, which is Timeless Tales in Translation. And this is a story which actually was written in Bengali by our poet laureate Rabindranath Tagore. I have translated his short story called Bolai, where he also speaks about the adverse effects of deforestation and how we must preserve the nature. So he tries to show that through the eyes of a child. And this is a small passage I'm going to read. So it goes something like this. So he's talking about the child. The child's name is Bolai. So he says, Bolai probably was born in that age and time when the universe first swam out of the womb of the ocean, taking its first breath eons of years ago. At a time when on the newly formed layers of mud, the nascent forests rose and gave out their first cry. Then there were no birds, no sound, no life, only layers of rock, slime, and water. Those tall trees, heralding other life forms on the path of time, called out to the glowing sun with their raised hands, saying, I will live, I will exist, I will survive. Like the eternal traveler through the cycles of death, through days and nights, rain and shine, I will progress on the path of my growth, my evolution. That will be for it today.
Excellent.
This is all Tagore's writing. I only translated, so the credit actually goes to him. And it was delightful to be in the company of noted academicians and authors. And you all have enthralled us today with your powerful and sensitive works. And I wish all of you great luck going forward. Each one of your works is filled with heart and meaning, capturing the essence of life and complicated emotions. So before concluding, I would request Irena to give a vote of thanks.
Thank you so much. It was a really inspiring session, a very special one, and we thank each and every one of you for giving us the pleasure to indulge into such profound verses. So they were all crisp, and we really indulged in them today. In fact, so melodious. And in a multilingual festival like Panorama, all languages seem like a bouquet of fresh flowers budding in the sunlight. Poetry unites us all, giving us wings to fly across all borders. And we are all the proof. You are the proof. Please continue to convey across the globe the mighty values of humanity. We thank you all for being a major part of this event with your magnificent literary works that are here to stay forever. Special thanks to Dr. Sunil Sharma, to the curator, Chaitali Sengupta, for all your beautiful work during the session. We thank all of you, esteemed delegates, and our viewers from across the world for watching us live. Goodbye, everyone. We promise to unite ourselves in the realm of literature very soon. Goodbye from Athens, Greece, across the world.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much for making us a part of this beautiful initiative.
Thank you so much, and it was really nice. I think it was
all for gracing this wonderful event. Wonderful.
Yeah, it was my pleasure also to talk to all these people and also to meet you virtually.
Chaitali, you did an excellent job curating the program.
Job as a curator. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
Well
you. Thank you.
organized, and well
everyone.
timed.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you
Irene.
so much.
Thanks,
Bye
Chaitali.
all.
Thank you so
Wonderful.
much.
We'll
Thanks
meet
to
again.
all.
Meet
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
We'll meet
Bye-bye.
Right.